Hey, good morning. How you guys doing today? Been a pretty crazy week here. So, there's that bread bowl that I told you guys I was getting started on. You can see how we're getting some more cracks and checks. At this point, don't worry about them. If your project's getting some cracks and checks in the ends, especially when you're just starting out like this, put it back in some chips, let it set for a few days, and see if it slows them down. Sometimes, no matter what you do, a project's going to check, it's going to crack. It's just part of that lottery of sorry, not a little bit of sawdust in the shop this morning. Sawdust in my coffee too. But it's going to happen sometimes. I've had a lot of projects over the years where I'd just get started with them and it would split and ruin the project. It is horrible. It sucks. But all that means is this gets split down even farther and made into smaller projects. So, like I said, I'm going to put this back on chips, let it set for a few more days, see if the checks get worse. If the cracks get worse, then I'll split this down into sections, and it's still big enough I can make some really nice spoons or other stuff out of them. So you're not going to see more of this for a few days. Set back down there. Bigger stuff like that, I typically put in a bucket of chips, not a bag. So we're going to get our bowl project out, and we're going to see what we got in here. Like I said, I filled this full of chips last night. We got our first good soak of boiled linseed oil in there, and it's actually really cool because there is some curl in the chestnut in there. So there is going to be some really pretty grain structure even on this outside edge. When I did my linseed oil, I did put linseed oil on the end grain as well. Part of that just kind of seals in the end grain. We still don't have any boiled linseed oil on the outside of our project, so it is still able to breathe. It's still able to get rid of moisture. So, like I said, we're just gonna let it dry nice and slow. Let's see here. I am gonna put another coat of boiled linseed oil on the inside today. Like I said, I try to do 3 pretty heavy coats of linseed oil on the inside before I do my sanded in finish. But before I do that, we're gonna sand the outside just to get some of the heavier, stronger marks out of the carved piece. That way we can figure out what kind of designs or artwork we want to put on it. I haven't 100% made up my mind yet where this is going or what I'm going to do with it. I just know we've got it to this point. I don't have a whole lot of real heavy carve marks in this. My end grain, and unfortunately I lost the video to this. End grain's really hard to get your carve marks out of, even with sandpaper. So a lot of times I'll take a fine, medium fine file, and I'll file the real heavy marks out, and then I'll sand these down to 150. If you're going to use a file, just be cognizant that you'll really tear all your marks out pretty quick. And if you're trying to leave some of the carve marks in there, just watch what you're doing. When I work on these outside edges, I just use my hands. I'll usually just prop it up on my leg, and just gonna go with the grain. Where this doesn't have a lot of real super hard carve marks in it, I'm probably just gonna stick to 150 grain sandpaper to start. I know if you do a lot of woodworking, someone's going to tell you, you know, you're never going to get all your marks out with 150 grit sandpaper. And that's kind of the point. I want it to have a smooth, pleasant feel to it. But I do want those carve marks in there. I want those dents. I want the dings. I want it to look like it was handmade. And that's, I think a lot of times, you know, the power tools have made stuff so neat and so smooth that we have kind of lost that hand finish. If you get a chance, and I have not been there in a really long time, but like, because I don't really care for the cities, but like if you go to Liberty Square in Philadelphia, to the original capital of the United States, and walk through there, look at some of the old furniture that's in there. It has a very warm feel, really nice appeal to it, and you'll see carve marks, you'll see saw marks, like it is not 100% perfect, and that's partially what makes that natural look of wood grain so nice. Is it's not all consistent, it's not all, you know, it's not all going with the flow per se, you know. So leave some of the marks in there. It does really add to the appeal of the piece. And it lets people know that you worked this by hand. I take a lot of pride in letting people know that, you know, hey, no power tools touched this piece since it was cut down with a chainsaw. And to some people that might seem silly. To other people, it's a really neat achievement to make a small craft without any power tools at all. It gives us a feel of, you know, the roots of our woodworking. My grandpa was a really good woodworker, and I used to love getting in the shop with him. He taught me how to, you know, how to use a bandsaw, how to use a circular saw, and all these tools. But before I got to use a bandsaw or a scroll saw, I had to learn how to use a coping saw. Before I could use a circular saw, I had to learn how to use a crosscut handsaw or a ripping saw. And it gives you a little bit of respect, I guess, for what those tools do for you. Like, you know, saving your arms, and you're not going to have the amount of strain that you would have had doing it by hand. But sometimes you can't get the same feel with power tools, especially sanding. There are certain things, like if you're doing a really big project like a kitchen table or something like that, I totally agree with, you know, put the hand sander away, get a power sander. But when you're doing stuff like this, sand it by hand. It is going to take more time, but you are going to get to kind of scan and scour over every inch of that project, and your fingers are going to feel stuff that your eyes don't see, and it's going to bring an extra level of craftsmanship to your projects. That's typically, if you take a factory production gun stock, like and it is not, because I use them too, not picking on them at all, but you take like a Boyd's gun stock that is 100% power finished. They're nice stocks, they're good quality, but the warmth is not there. You take a stock that was cut from a billet, shaped, carved, hand sanded with a traditional oil rub finish, with a sanded in finish, then Renaissance wax or stock wax. When you put that stock in your hands, it is 100% warmth. Like you feel warm. The stock is warm. It's comfortable. It's smooth. It's appealing. It doesn't feel fake or processed. And that might make me sound a little bit like a hippie. And trust me, I'm not. But it is really hard to mimic that hand finished texture, feel, warmth. It's not something you can do with tools. You have to put your hands in it. You have to put some elbow grease in there. And I think that's part of the appeal to some people of carving, isn't necessarily going backwards or even expression. It is just getting that warmth back in the tools that we use every day. And in that note, so like I said, this outside, I'm going to sand this down to about 150. I'm not going to put any finish on the outside yet because it'll make it harder for me to see my pencil marks. And I don't like using a marker on wood pieces. It tends to bleed. And if my lines aren't super crisp, it is really hard to judge your cuts. Well, I ain't going to ramble on too much more. Like I said, I'm going to get the outside of this sanded down. We're going to put another pretty heavy coat of boiled linseed oil on the inside. Let that soak in for about 5 minutes. If you want to do a light sanding on that inside before you put your next coat on, you can. You don't have to. I will sand mine first just because getting it scuffed back up is just going to allow it to soak up a little bit more of that linseed oil. And we'll put this piece back on the shelf and its wood chips and start working on the next project. Hopefully I get this most of the way sanded down and done before the wife reminds me that I've got a firewood order that I've got to get filled this week, which means I got to go back outside on such a dark, dreary, cold day. Well, it's one of my favorite places to be. Get back outside. I get to throw my earbuds in, fire up a log splitter, and do my best impersonation of karaoke night while I fill a firewood order. It's been interesting. I miss working at Lowe's in that sense, just because I get to see people every day. It kind of forces me to talk to people every day, and I don't really have that here. I mean, say that the wife talks to me at least, most days anyway. But this is getting back to working for myself has been quite a blessing, quite a joy. I don't think I fit in the mercantile world very well. If you shop in places and you see this, I'll tell you, I had one of the managers tell me once that working mercantile will make you lose all hope in humanity. And at first I kind of laughed it off, but after seeing how people talk to cashiers and customer service people, I kind of agree. You know, it is not you meet some really great people when you work mercantile, but you also see another side of people. And if that person doesn't personally know you, they don't care if you see their, I say their true colors or not. And bad stuff happens, mistakes are always going to be made. When you work at a place like Lowe's, or you shop at a place like Lowe's, they hire college kids, they hire just out of high school kids that don't have all the experience in the world. They hire a lot of retirees as well. So, you have got both ends of the spectrum. You've got people that have never had to mess with electronics at work. You've got people that are really new to talking to older people at work. You got people there that don't know anything about job etiquette yet because they haven't had a job yet. And people will always come in, assume the worst, that, they're just trying to screw you over or not trying to help you. And you do get that. There are bad employees, and the managers try to wean them out. But boy, there are bad customers too. I have walked up on people that I know personally, and they're like church-going, good, honorable, nice people. You would think absolutely lose their shit on somebody at Lowe's because a product that says we have it in store on the website, and then you get there and it's not there, and you wasted your gas money and blah blah blah, and they will just let off on some 18, 19-year-old kid or a store manager that has absolutely no control over how fast stuff comes in or where stuff goes on its way to coming in. And it just saddens me how nasty people can be. And it's all right to be upset. When I worked there as one of the store managers, I even told my employees when I was back in the flooring department, I come in one day and one of my girls is literally in tears because this guy swore up and down about, she'd messed up and this and that. And I was like, hang up. If someone is swearing at the situation, that's one thing. Somebody starts swearing at you, hang up. You ain't got to listen to that. I don't care if you are, a bum living on the street or the Pope himself or the God Almighty. Someone curses you out doesn't deserve your time. And that might sound kind of heartless, but a really good store manager would tell you the same thing. You don't have to put up with that. You're a human being. They're a human being. If they're not going to give you respect, don't give them yours. And that lady came in later that day and was quite upset. Or not the lady, the man came in later that day and he was quite upset. And I had made a comment and I was like, yeah, you're pretty upset. And I was like, so isn't the salesperson I have. And he was a complete and utter gentleman to me. Now, granted, I'm 6'1" and 250 pounds and just got a bad ginger temper. So most people are pretty calm and nice around me. But to puff up on a 110-pound girl is, when you're a big contractor, dude, if that's what you got to do to make yourself feel better, bud, I feel sorry for you, And so just remember that when you're shopping at them places. They're people too. Hey, y'all have a great day. And if this electronic stuff's really messing with you and the news has got you down, shut it off. Get outside. Grab some hand tools. Make some projects. It'll make you feel better. It'll give you some accomplishment. And it'll make the next day easier. Have a good day, and I'll catch you later.